Welcome to the Retirement Guy Podcast with Gary Alden from the Kingwood Investment Group. In this podcast, we educate people in or near retirement so they can make informed decisions and bridge the confidence gap. Learn how to mitigate risk in retirement so you don't run out of money before you run out of you. Join Gary Alden and explore strategies on how to live a stress-free retirement.
Hello and welcome to the Retirement Guy with Gary Alden from Kingwood Investment Group. Today we're talking about Medicare Planning 101. Gary's going to take us through the basics, but before he does that, he's got a trivia question. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Good morning, Eric.
All right.
And my trivia question for today is, what do about 15% of women do every Valentine's Day? What do 15% of women do every Valentine's Day?
These trivia questions.
And be careful.
I know. I'm going to censor myself. These trivia questions they're really odd, Gary. I mean, no, they're just 15% of women do every Valentine's Day.
Yes, sir. You are correct.
I would say I'm correct already. This is a good start. Boy, you got me, Gary. I would have no idea what 15%. They propose to their boyfriends or their significant other.
That might be right, but not the answer we're looking for.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll find out at the end of this podcast, I suppose. All right. So Medicare Planning 101. Obviously, this is just kind of a beginner's course. We don't have time today to do all of it as far as, talking about all of Medicare planning because it's very complicated, I'm sure. But we're going to do the 30,000-foot view, I assume?
Yes, sir.
All right. Where do we start?
Well, number one, what do baby boomers need to know about Medicare and long-term care? So we're going to cover this. This is kind of Cliff Notes. Like you said, this subject could go into hours and hours, but we're going to trim it down to just a few minutes here today. But I want to cover 3 key points right up front. Key point number one, if you do not enroll in Medicare on time, you will pay a monthly penalty the rest of your life.
What?
Key point number 2, if you do not get the right private insurance to go with Medicare, you may pay too much in premiums or out-of-pocket cost. And in key point number 3, if you do not plan for higher healthcare costs in retirement, you could very easily, very possibly, run out of money and not be able to get the care that you need. And again, I'll go back to that key point number 1. If you do not enroll in Medicare on time, you will pay a monthly penalty the rest of your life.
Yeah, those aren't good key points. I don't like those at all.
So you need to understand how Medicare works. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about Medicare enrollment. Before age 65, most people, they're either in their group health plan at work, or they have an individual health plan, or if you've maybe been laid off from work or something, you're on COBRA. After age 65, Medicare can now step in, and Medicare normally pays first and your other insurance pays second. However, if you're in a group healthcare plan at work that covers 20 or more employees, they become the primary payer and Medicare is second. Now, what does all this mean for you? Unless you're covered by an employer group that covers 20 or more employees, you must enroll in Medicare when you turn 65. So even though you don't think you need to enroll in Medicare when you turn 65, you may have to sign up and start paying your and sign up for at least Part A and maybe Part B. Now, what if you don't enroll in Medicare on time? You may pay a late enrollment penalty, and again, it's for the rest of your life. Your healthcare expenses may not be covered by insurance, and the private insurance options may be very, very limited. That's why when you start doing Medicare planning, when you do turn 65 or get close to 65, sit down with somebody who is extremely, extremely good on Medicare planning. I have 2 associates here in my office. That's pretty well all they do is Medicare planning. And one of the things I always caution people on, interview who you are having help you decide on your Medicare supplements, make sure that they offer both Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage, both sides of the fence, and make sure also they will help you with your prescription drug plan. If whoever the person is helping you with Medicare, your Medicare supplement, if that agent doesn't do both sides of the fence, both Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage, run away, walk away. Because one plan may be better than the other. And also they should be representing at least 10 or more companies, because different companies have different benefits and you want to get the best benefit for yourself.
Absolutely.
So what is Medicare? Well, basically it's a national health insurance program for people age 65 and up, sometimes below 65 if you're on disability, and you enroll through the Social Security Administration. So who's eligible? Everybody that's at least 65 years of age, as long as they're a U.S. citizen, or if you're a legal resident who has lived in the United States for at least 5 years. And again, like we mentioned before, some people under age 65 may be eligible for Medicare because of disability. There are 4 parts of Medicare. There's 2 provided by Medicare itself, by the government, and then there's 2 provided by private insurance. There's Part A, which is hospital insurance. That's free for most people, no charge. And then there's Medicare Part B, which is going to be an out-of-pocket expense for most people. And then there's Part C and there's Part D. And these are the 2 that are provided by private insurers that contract with Medicare. Part C is known as Medicare Advantage, and Part D is the prescription drug plan passed by George Bush II. Mm-hmm. So how do you enroll in Medicare? Well, if you're already on Social Security and you turn 65, Part A and B is automatic. Now, you may want to decline Part B because maybe even though you're retired, you may have a plan better than Part B. Maybe your company plan, you're able to take it into retirement, and maybe you don't want B. So you can decline it, but you have to be proactive in letting the government know. And again, coverage starts the first of the month that you turn 65. So even though maybe I turn 65 on the 21st of the month, my Part A and B will start on the first of the month. Now, Part C and D that we mentioned, your Medicare Advantage or your prescription drug plan, Part D, they are not automatic, and you've got to sit down with somebody that understands those plans and helps you get signed up. So if you're not receiving Social Security when you turn 65, you must sign up through the Social Security Administration during a Medicare enrollment period. And there's going to be different periods depending on your situation. But let's just say you're a typical 65-year-old, maybe you retired a couple of years ago. You actually have 7 months to sign up for Medicare. You have the month you actually turn 65, the 3 months before 65, the 3 months after 65. So it's a 7-month window. And as long as you sign up within those 7 months, there's not going to be a penalty on your Plan B or Plan D, prescription drug plan. But if you wait and sign up after that, then there can be a penalty. Now, who signs up for Part A during the initial enrollment period? Normally, pretty well everybody signs up because for most people, there is not an expense. However, I want to do a caution here. You never want to sign up for Medicare Part A, even though it's, quote, free, if your plan has more than 20 employees, your employer health care plan, and it's a high deductible plan paired with a health savings account. And if you have a health savings account and a high deductible plan and you're listening to this, you probably know it, because if you have an HSA contribution you're contributing and you sign up for Medicare, you no longer can make HSA contributions. So be careful. So who signs up for Part B during the initial enrollment period? You're not working, you're self-employed, you're employed by a company with less than 20 employees. Maybe you're on COBRA, or you're employed by a company whose health benefit plan is less comprehensive than Medicare. And there are a lot of them out there. We just helped one of our clients here within the last month We looked at Medicare Part B. We looked at his company plan. Medicare Part B was better than his company plan. So he dropped his company plan, or it's being dropped here at the first of the year, and he's going to be on Medicare Part B. Now, there is a thing called special enrollment period. This is for people who did not sign up for Medicare Parts B and D during their initial enrollment period because they were still covered at work. They were, in other words, they were still working, or their spouse is still working. They were covered by a large group plan. So if in this case, once you leave that plan, you have 8 months to sign up for Medicare Part B and not pay a penalty. So you've got a big window, except the longer you wait, you don't have any coverage in there. Mm-hmm. So you want to, probably apply in advance so you don't have any gap in coverage. Now, to avoid gaps in coverage, again, you should sign up during before your actual coverage, ends. That's kind of one of those duh statements. Mm-hmm. So how do you sign up for Medicare Part A and B? One way is just you can do it online. You can go to www.ssa.gov, SocialSecurityAdministration.gov. You can sign up for Parts A and B online. You can also, if you're unsure how to navigate the website, you can just call Social Security. Their 800 number is 800-772-1213. That's 800-772-1213. And then also you can just go on to www.medicare.gov/Medicare eligibility. And there's a lot of questions and answers there that can help you.
Nice.
Now, here's what we're getting down to. When you sign up for Medicare Part D, that's your prescription drug plan, work with a professional who understands it. And again, some of the people who your insurance agents who are out there offering Medicare Advantage plans or Medicare supplement plans, they don't like to get into Part D because they really don't get paid anything, or they get paid very little. But again, you want to work with somebody comprehensive who will do both sides of the fence.
Exactly.
I'll give you one real life example. Here in the last maybe 4 months ago, one of our Medicare specialists here in the office, who's my son, Christopher, sat down with a lady who was already on Medicare, and she was looking at maybe changing to a better plan. And Christopher sat down and looked at her Medicare Part D prescription drug plan. She was paying close to $1,000 a month out of pocket that was not being covered by her drug plan.
Wow.
Christopher went out there and shopped, found her a new plan, saved her nearly $800 per month.
Gee, man, Christmas. That's life-changing.
That's $10,000 a year.
Yeah. For a lot of people, that is seriously life-changing. That's great.
Yeah. And the lady just, like a lot of people, they sign up for Medicare supplement, Medicare Advantage, a drug plan, and then they never go shop again. I don't think you would do that in the normal world. Periodically, your car you bought 10 years ago, new cars have a lot of new bells and bells and whistles and gadgets on them. The same way on your Medicare plans, periodically, about every 2 or 3 years, sit down with a professional, go out there and shop and see if maybe there's a better plan. Maybe it can save you some dollars.
Yeah, that's great advice.
So now let's take a look at Medicare and private insurance. So Part B premiums, if you're on Social Security, they just take it out of your Social Security check and send you the difference every month. If you're still working and you also have Medicare Part B, you're just going to pay the government out of your checking account. So Medicare Part B premiums right now in 2018, they're about $134 per month for most people. If you are a large income earner above a certain threshold, that $134 goes up. So Medicare Part B is actually means tested, and you can pay more than $134 a month, but most people, that's what they're going to pay. And Part D prescription drug plan is the same way. There's a set amount depending on the plan you pick. Let's say it's $35 a month, but if you earn too much money, they're going to increase your premium.
Makes sense.
So let's take a look at premiums. So Part A for most people is going to be $0 as long as you paid in the Social Security or your spouse paid in the Social Security for at least 10 years. Medicare Part B, again in 2018, about $134 a month for most people. And in Part D is going to vary plan to plan, but usually it's around $30 to $40 a month. Now, there are some deductibles you got to pay.
Mm.
Part A, there is a $1,340 per spell of illness.
Wow.
Part B is $183 per year, and Part D is $405 per year on deductibles. Now, these are all subject to change, and they nearly always change every year. They usually go up very slowly, but the key takeaway here is they do go up.
Mm-hmm.
Like Part B is going up like about $2 in 2019. So what does Medicare cover? Well, it covers 100% of your first 60 days in a hospital. It covers medical service, your doctor's visit, outpatients, and Medicare pays 80% of the approved amount, which means you're on the hook for the other 20%, which that's why you want to get a supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan to make up the difference, so you don't have to. And also, Medicare covers a lot of preventive services, such as flu shots and certain other screenings. And you can go on the Medicare website and it tells you what all it covers. Now, this is important. What does Medicare not cover? It does not cover long-term care.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you can get the United States government to pay for your long-term care is to be destitute. And then Medicaid, not Medicare, but Medicaid will step in and pay for your long-term care, but you pretty well have to be destitute for the government to step in and pay for it. I hope none of our listeners today ever have to be on Medicaid.
Yeah.
So other things that Medicare does not cover, cover care delivered outside the United States, does not cover dental care, doesn't cover vision, nor hearing aids, nor cosmetic surgery. So, if you want to have a facelift, Eric, they're not going to cover it. They don't cover acupuncture. They also don't cover other oddball things that you can come up with. They just cover kind of normal, everyday stuff.
So no liposuction for Eric is what you're saying.
Yeah, you gotta do that on your own nickel.
Just checking. Okay,
just want to make sure. Okay, Medigap policies. These are Medicare supplement or Medigap policies. Remember, Medicare pays for like 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're on the hook for the other 20. So you either get a Medigap policy or a Medicare Advantage. You're going to do one or the other, not both. That's why you need to sit down with a professional to help you decide which one is better for you. And even though you do like a plan, then you've got to make sure your doctor accepts that plan. And then you need to check with that doctor every year to make sure they haven't dropped that plan for the coming year. So again, you can check with your health insurer, or also just call the doctor themselves and make sure they're going to, if you're on Aetna or United Healthcare or whoever, maybe they were on accepting United Healthcare this year, but maybe they're not going to accept it next year, or maybe it's going to be a different plan next year. And I've seen that happen with lots of people.
Got it.
So again, the year before you turn 65, you're going to start getting a lot of mail. Every insurance company in the United States gets your name and address and starts sending your all kinds of mail, and your mailbox is inundated with companies trying to sell you Medicare supplement insurance or Medicare Advantage. Then you're going to start getting robocalls from all these companies. Again, ignore all this stuff. There's no one right company for everybody. Sit down with a Medicare specialist, a professional, figure out which plan is best in your situation. One of the things that I wasn't aware of till I took a course on Medicare years ago is Medicare supplements and Medicare Gap. And there's like plans A through plan N. They're all letters of the alphabet. So let's say, Eric, you're on plan F. Plan F or plan G or plan N or any of the Medigap policies, they're standardized. All that means in English is that if you have plan F from United Healthcare, it covers the exact same things that plan F from Aetna covers, or plan F from Mutual of Omaha covers, or any other company. It's the exact same coverage, no more, no less. So you could say, well, then what's the difference? The difference is cost, because one insurance company may be $50, $60 per month more than another plan, and it's the same plan.
Wow.
So if Aetna was going to charge me $200 a month and United Healthcare was going to charge me $150 a month for plan F, It's the exact same plan. I'm going with United Healthcare because they're $50 a month cheaper.
Now, is there any difference in service?
That could be a difference. Now, the government rates all these companies, and you can see they give stars.
Okay.
And some companies are rated 5-star service, some are 4 stars, some are 3 stars. So you might look at service. So, but you brought up a good point there, Eric. The only two differences on Medigap policies, Medicare supplement policies, is price and service. But I will tell you this, most of the major companies that you've heard of, the service is pretty darn good at all of them.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm sure there's some fringe companies out there that may be lowballing people, but they don't provide the best service. So definitely sitting down with a professional is going to help you hone in on the one that you need specifically.
There you go. Now, Medigap's going to cost you money. There's always a fee for a Medigap or Medicare supplement. Let's say it's $150 a month in your case. And then on top of that, you're going to have to pay for your prescription drug plan. Let's say that's another $40 a month. So you have two expenses there, plus your Part B. You can't get away from paying your Part B. Mm-hmm. On the flip side of the coin are Medicare Advantage plans. Now, these can vary dramatically because Medicare Advantage plans, they're usually little or no cost. Here in Texas, most Medicare Advantage plans are zero cost or maybe $10 a month. So very, very low cost, but you do have networks that you are now in Medicare Advantage plans. So let's say you're traveling and you're in Utah and maybe your network here in Texas is not in Utah and you have a medical expense, then you're kind of on your own hook because your network doesn't exist in Utah. So it is one thing to consider on Medicare Advantage. But Medicare Advantage plans, normally they're either zero or no cost or low cost. And they also normally, most cases, not always, but most cases, they include your prescription drug plan. So it's very possible to have a Medigap plan, Medicare supplement, maybe it's cost you $150 a month plus say another $40 for the drug plan, say roughly $200 a month. And then you have a Medicare Advantage plan that covers the same thing, maybe at zero cost. But there are some ifs, ands, and buts on that. Again, sit down with a Medicare specialist professional, again, to design which plan is best for you. And again, you need to shop carefully. Medigap policies, like you said, they are standardized, but premiums can vary dramatically. And again, make sure your doctor will take your particular plan and check from year to year because sometimes they drop plans. Again, drug plan benefits vary considerably, like the example I gave you where we changed drug plans for one of our clients and they saved $800 a month. That's huge. And then again, Medicare Advantage plans, they can vary dramatically. Remember we said Medicare supplement plans, a plan F is a plan F is a plan F?
Yep.
That's not true on Medicare Advantage.
Oh, okay.
Medicare Advantage, one of them says, we'll throw in dental and we'll throw in vision and we'll throw in a health club membership. So they can just throw in all kinds of goodies to try to get you signed up with their company. And these companies do that.
Okay.
So, but then also you have to look at, hey, do they give good service?
Yeah.
Excuse me, had to cough.
No problem.
So everybody listening today, plan for higher healthcare costs in retirement. Healthcare costs, they have inflation, and it's going to probably cost you more in the future than it costs today. So let's kind of look at maybe a typical person. So let's say I have a Medicare Part B premium, $134 a month. And let's say I have a Medigap Plan F. Let's say that's $200 a month. And I have a drug plan for $40 a month. That's about $374 a month. That's just for me. So let's say you got a husband and wife times two, about $750 a month for two people just to cover the basics, Part B, your Medigap, and your drug plan. And that doesn't consider, say, long-term care. So there's nothing unusual to have an expense per person of around $6,000 a year. So if you take, $374 times 12, there's nearly $4,500 a year. Plus, let's say your out-of-pocket drug is, say, $800, out-of-pocket dental, $300, out-of-pocket vision, $300, and then miscellaneous out-of-pocket stuff, $200. There's over $6,000 per person per year at today's prices. So I ask you something, Eric. you have a plan in place to take care of $6,000 a year for you, $6,000 a year for your wife, and those costs escalating into the future. Most people don't have a good plan.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple of studies done, one done by Fidelity, very, very good plan, and Fidelity Investments. They said a typical couple retiring today needs to have about $275,000 at the start of retirement to take care of future medical expenses.
Wow.
$275,000. The Employee Benefit Research Institute did a similar study, and they came out with $259,000 for a married couple at retirement. So either way you look at it, that's a boatload of money. And again, that does not consider long-term care coverage, which can run anywhere from about $7,000 to $8,000 per month in the United States, depending on what part of the country you're in. So you need to plan for long-term care, because again, I've only seen it 3 times since I've been a financial advisor, but I have seen 3 clients over the years that I've worked with literally run out of money paying medical expenses. Really sad cases. And they really become destitute, and they then have to rely on the state or family to take care of them. So in closing today, Eric, I want to cover 3 points. Reminder number 1, enroll in Medicare on time. Number 2, shop carefully, very carefully for private insurance. Work with a professional that represents, to me, at least 10 or 12 different companies, and they represent both Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage, both sides of the fence, and make sure they will help you with your drug plan, which could be very, very important. And then reminder number 3, plan for higher healthcare costs in retirement. It's going to happen.
Definitely.
And that's everything I wanted to cover today.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time. This is a lot of great information. The only other thing I'm looking for is, what do those 15% of women do?
Oh, that's pretty easy. Approximately 15% of women every Valentine's Day, Eric, send themselves flowers.
Oh, well, that's nice and sad at the same time.
I'm not sure that's good or bad.
Yeah, it kind of makes me sad at the same time. It's like, oh, that's great, good for you, but yeah, kind of sad for you too. Yeah. I don't know how to feel about that, Gary. One of these days, I'm going to get your question correct at the very beginning of the podcast, and then what are you going to do?
I don't know. We're going to have to come up with that.
It hasn't happened yet.
I'll have another question in reserve.
Okay. Deal. All right. Thank you, Gary. Again, this has been a great podcast and very informative for our audience. Thank you all for listening to the Retirement Guy podcast with Gary Alden. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Gary comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. And of course, we encourage you to do that, especially those that are looking into Medicare or getting close to that age. That the whole on time thing, or else you lose money or you get fined for the rest of your life. That's a terrible thing. So let's make sure they're getting there on time. Again, thanks for listening. For everyone at Kingwood Investment Group, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Guy podcast. Click the subscription button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Kingwood Investment Group. The content has been made available for information and education purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions that you may have regarding your investment planning. Kingwood Investment Group is independent of Next Financial Group, Inc. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Next Financial Group, Inc., member FINRA/SIPC.